Good morning, Britain. The brutality of war continues to rain down on Ukraine, with reports of cluster bombs repeatedly targeting innocent civilians. Head girl at Cheltenham Ladies College. Now she's in Ukraine, prepared to possibly take up. He has definitely not succeeded in crushing the spirit of Ukraine.
No.
The fear this morning, of course, is that there is a desperate use of weapons, which war crimes, and a 40-mile convoy that's advancing on Kyiv.
Yeah. Well,
Desperate, who is not achieving his aims in the way that he confidently thought he could. And as, you know, our eminent guest describes, has a nuclear arsenal at his fingertips.
To peel away.
The oligarchs are in part responsible for Putin being there.
They are.
Can the oligarchs topple him?
Possibly.
Right. Or, shall we turn our attention to something else? Now, we have not talked about the fact that Boris Johnson is still under investigation.
Yes.
And people will think, well, absolutely, because there's more important things in life. But meanwhile, Matt Hancock, former health podcast, and this might come as a surprise to anyone who thought to that online, would say, are you telling me that the reason I didn't go to the care home or the hospital house at that time was because I didn't love them enough?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the message that he... Interesting, because Matt Hancock says that the reason he brought his lover, Gina, into the Department of Health was to talk to him and teach him how to do better public speaking. And I think...
Good morning, it's just gone 6 o'clock. Welcome to the programme.
Let's get straight on with the main news, because there have been some very worrying developments overnight. Dozens of civilians killed, hundreds more wounded as Russian forces continue to fire on Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv. And meanwhile, we have these satellite images of
Russian forces are moving across Ukraine. Thank you, Richard. Let's speak to Nick Dixon, who's on the Polish-Ukraine border. Thank you, Nick. You get a real sense that we are heading to a huge humanitarian crisis in that part of Europe.
Yeah.
And with what is still to come, I mean, we've had, what, 4 or 5 days of this war, and when you see that 40-mile convoy, and then reports...
Strikes fear into your heart.
And reports that they've already started using cluster bombs.
And a thermobaric weapon.
Which means that there will be more civilian deaths. Let's hope we've got this wrong. Let's hope we are wrong about this. But you get a sense that this war
could
be escalating.
That our fears won't be realised.
Yes, but I worry that it may well be escalating in the next few days.
Yeah. Well, in a moment, we're going to speak to a student, Valentina Butenko, live from Western Ukraine. She is a student, but her father is has been out in Kyiv. She went out to visit and then has ended up transporting people who need to get out of Ukraine to the border, performing a kind of rescue mission of her own. She says that she's not going to leave Ukraine, and we'll find out why.
So many stories of heroism, isn't there, from people both there and here. I mean, people going from here as well to go and fight and help out in Ukraine. It's incredible. Really looking forward to speaking to a former commander who we had on yesterday as well. He's going to be joining us before 7, because I think his insight into the strategy of where we can go, what we now need to do as part of NATO to try and combat what Putin is doing is fascinating. We'll speak to him before 7 as well.
First, here's Rambo. Laura, thank you. Still to come on Good Morning Britain, the British-Ukrainian student who drove hundreds...
Let's get the latest news, travel and weather where you are this morning.
See you in a moment.
Ukrainian student Valentina Butenko travelled to Kyiv to visit her father just a few weeks ago. And after the Russian invasion, she's decided to stay and do whatever it takes to defend her country.
The 19-year-old and her father are currently taking shelter. We'll discuss Valentina's message with Kevin and Andrew, and also talk to former army officer Sir Adrian Bradshaw, who says NATO troops need to be positioned near Ukraine to act.
Morning Britain on ITV.
See you in a moment.
Brothers, Walt Disney, Sony Pictures have all said last night that they're going to suspend releasing new films in Russia.
Yeah.
As a way of getting a message through, I guess, to the people of Russia of what's truly happening. If they're not getting that information, because Facebook and other things are being restricted.
Yeah.
For Russian.